Got the first prototype done. I've had some plans for these chairs with armrests. It's just my bench plan, shortened down and then legs extended for some armrests. Whipped the other little table for it as well. I've got to build 4 of these and 2 tables, and I've got a stack of lumber right here, so stick around and I'll show you how to make one. Alright, so primarily all the tools we're going to use are this miter saw, a drill, some screws, and for the table you're going to have to rip down some 2x4s for the legs. You can use a table saw or a skill saw or a circular saw. But for the chairs and tables, I've got a little cut sheet. Guide me through all the cuts. Basically you're going to use 6 2x4s for the chairs and 2 2x4s, all 8 foot long, for the tables. On just about all my cuts here, I think the longest one's 30.5 inches. I don't have that much space to start my first cut at 30.5 inches on this side, so what I have to do is put the majority of my work over there and support it from the other side. But when it comes to measuring stuff on this, I never even mark anything. All I do is just pull the tape out to it and drop the blade right on the tape measure. This thin piece of metal tape measure is going to deflect more than it's going to damage these carbide teeth, so I'm not really worried about that. It's just a lot quicker to do it this way. And when you're cutting multiples, I don't measure the second one either. Just line up the edges, drop the blade, finger off the trigger of course, and make sure everything lines up perfectly. Be sure you don't want to. You're going to push the work into the blade, but don't push it to where it deforms the blade and changes your length. That's the first one. When you get into the angled cuts, they're all 15 degrees, so you can just start rotating the board back and forth depending on if you've got 2 going away or 2 going the same direction. But that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and cut through the rest of these and get ready for assembly. Alright, real quick, once you get to your angled cuts, everything is at a 15-degree angle depending on which direction. I always set my miter saw to the right and then just flip the board back and forth. That way you don't have to swing the saw every time. But my first miter cut is at 30.5 inches, so I'll make a little mark at 30.5. And then a speed square. If anyone's never used one of these, they're really easy to do. Really easy to work with, and they're a lifesaver. You have your mark at 30.5, and that's a 90-degree angle. Right here you've got all these different measurements of angles, and they correspond to this flat side right here. So if I was to pinch down right on my mark, just as a pivot point, and right here is 15, and this is your degrees. So if I bring this up to where 15 is on the same plane as the top of this 2x4, and that tells me that this line, which was once 90, has gone 15 degrees away from 90. So I can set it right here at 15, make my mark, and then cut it on the saw. Now, like I said, I did it, let's see, my saw is going the opposite direction, so I just did that backwards. Transfer my marks this way, and back up here. The same way. Pinch it at the line and move it to where 15 is at your base plate here. 15 degrees, and then there's your 15-degree line. And of course, just line it up and mark. I don't eyeball all my angled cuts. It's just easier to just go ahead and mark them and then cut them. But if you've never used one of these speed squares, they're really handy.